All right. So the imposter syndrome, what's nice about getting to a point in your career, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I can just about get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Like the imposter syndrome, I can be like, okay, I was an imposter and I got away with it. Like, I feel like when you get to a point where you could just be like, I'm retiring or something, and you don't need to worry about being, you don't
I'm
need
done.
You don't need to worry about being an imposter.
I'm approaching the finish line now.
You're getting away with the jewels on your speedboat. So what I'm saying is retire.
Okay.
No, but do you know what I mean? Like,
but I mean, even to this day, like, I have moments in my life where I told this story on Seth's show, but Seth Meyers.
Sure.
But I told about, like, on this last tour, I played Carnegie Hall, which I'd never played before in my life. And it was a big deal for me. I mean, it was Carnegie Hall.
Yeah.
And I talked myself into not being nervous about it because, something I'd wanted to do my whole life. And I thought it was the end of a long 6-month tour. And I was like, it's just another
I would like
show.
to interrupt and say that someone I know saw your show in the 90s and said it was one of the best shows he ever saw.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Heath Seifert was his name, and he said
well,
he
thank
saw
you so much.
at Universal in Orlando.
Nice.
There was like a adult island, and that you did a show at.
That Paradise
something.
So it's no longer there, I'm sure.
Yes. No, don't look for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So great show. Anyway.
So I finally show up at Carnegie Hall, and I'm trying not to be nervous about it. Just another show. And I walk down the hall, and there's like floor-to-ceiling pictures of, Frank Sinatra and Judy Garland and the Beatles. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't belong here. What am I doing here?
But, some of them didn't either.
Well, you don't think?
Well, no.
I don't even feel like I deserve to be on this show, honestly, because I looked at some people that you've had on, and even to be mentioned in the same breath as Steve-O. I mean, it really.
I mean, what an honor.
It really is.
Am
and
I
appreciate
right, folks? Good. I didn't know who you were going to say, and you picked a funny one.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I guess it's you did it. Is how I feel. It's like, I don't know, man.
Are we done? Can we do this?
No.
Oh.
Steve-O.
All right.
Please. You must have done something. Would be my argument with the imposter syndrome in your head.
I must have done something right.
You must have done something yet, right? Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not saying that, like, I entirely don't deserve it, because I do feel like, I bring joy to some people, and some, not all. I'm on social media. I know that I don't bring joy to all people.
You're no Steve-O.
I know Steve-O.
Go ahead.
But no, I mean, I've done a few things right in my life, but I'm just very grateful, because I kind of, deep down inside, I kind of feel like I just kind of don't deserve the life that I've been lucky enough to have.
Okay, if you look back on your life, is there any inkling at all that it would be this? Because I know when people go like, I'm shocked, I'm kind of overwhelmed by, it's beyond my wildest dreams. I know for myself and friends, it's been like, you've always had a little suspicion that you could do something. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if you had that, or if it was just like, there must have been some part of you that thought, I'm worth recording and sending in.
Yeah, I mean, I figured, I was young at the time. I was in my early 20s, and I figured, I don't want to be an architect, which is what I got my degree in. And I thought, I'll give this a shot. What's the worst could happen? Like, I'm already like unpopular and not famous, and nobody likes me, so what's the worst that could happen? It was odd for me to put myself out there like that. And when I signed my first record deal in 1982, it was, the initial deal was for 10 albums, which doesn't mean they're going to make 10 albums. That's just their draconian way of saying, if by some crazy,
if you're good, you owe us.
Yeah, you owe us. We own you.
What those deals mean.
But that was it. We all kind of laughed about like 10 albums, and it's been 14.
Same label.
Well, because they it's the same contract, but they renegotiated it twice. So in 2014, I delivered my 14th album. So after 32 short years, I finally fulfilled my recording contract.
How many points you getting? Kidding. I am curious as to what kind of deals. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you remember the advance you got on your first deal?
Not specifically, but it was virtually nothing. It was it was one of those kind of things where I was working for minimum wage in a mailroom at the time, and the choices were continue working in the mailroom or take this horrible deal.
Yes.
And
Also
I opted
minimum
for
wage.
the latter.
Okay, so and what kind of budgets would you have for the albums?
Well, the recording studio for my first several albums were actually in the record company's offices. They had their own recording studio.
Okay.
So it wasn't like they had a big out-of-pocket budget. It was like, oh, come record here. We've got our own engineer.
I'm sure they charged you. If
Oh,
I know
yeah.
anything about
Oh,
the record
no,
business,
no.
I'm sure they charged you.
Absolutely. It's like against royalties.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah. So for the first decade or so, I remember very clearly, like after Eat It hit, it was an international big hit.
Yes.
And some interviewers came to where I lived to get, do an in-depth article on me. And they came to my place on Gramercy Place, a one-bedroom house or apartment with a Murphy bed that folds out from the wall. I mean, just like I was a squatter.
Yes,
but they didn't give me a big pile of money when I signed a record deal, and I didn't see any royalties for years. So I was still living like I was living when I was working in the mailroom.
Yeah. How was it dealing with Michael Jackson?
He was great. I never thought that he'd give his blessing or permission. It was one of those shot in the dark.
Oh, let me ask you a question. Would you make the songs first and then send them? In the case of Eat It,
I don't exactly. I think maybe I already had the song written at that point. And I've learned over the course of my career not to do that because sometimes they'll say no, and that's a lot of wasted effort.
Yes.
So now I would just pitch them an idea.
What do these songs take?
Hours of effort.
2 hours per song. That's your
multiple hours.
Yes, that's your you date for the time away. And so you sent it to him, and he was like, "Oh, that's funny. You can."
Yeah.
And then he asked for an ungodly amount of money and.
It wasn't that. It was no. I mean, he had actually a great sense of humor about it. In fact, when we did the Fat video, we found out that Michael Jackson set from his he did like a version of Bad called Baby Bad or Bad or whatever for his Moonwalker video, which is like the Bad video recreated with kids. So that existed at a full soundstage in Culver City, and they were about to strike it, and we said, no. We want that. Can we please use your set? And he let us use.
You guys
the
were
set.
like, "Don't. That's evidence."
You never said that,
sir. Okay. So, with the imposter syndrome, you just you waited it out.
I did. It's.
Okay. Let me say this. You seem to take long breaks. Although you made 14 albums, so some hit and some don't, I guess.
Yeah,
because to my cultural radar, I wouldn't hear from you for a while, and then it'd be like, "Oh, White and Nerdy. Oh, great!" Like Weird Al's still in circulation.
Well, that's an interesting phenomenon where for virtually every album that I put out, most people consider it a comeback because and it's not like I spend. Well, sometimes I spend years between albums, but I was putting out albums fairly regularly for a while. But because the music that I do is considered the domain of one-hit wonders, people just kept waiting for me. They're amazed that I just wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
Every time I come back, they go, he's back.
Yeah.
Like they're very surprised.
It seemed pretty clear to me you had no other skills.
Yeah.
There was nowhere to go.
I got nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
I mean,
basically.
I know.
So, and are you tenacious? Are you competitive? Do you take that as a challenge? The one-hit wonder rubric?
Maybe a bit. I mean, I'm not one of these kind of people that's motivated by, I'll show him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I walked into it knowing full well that like I better like grab the brass ring every time it comes around because this is going to go away. It's ephemeral what I'm doing. I might have an album or two and then I'll probably go away. So I just gave it everything I had every time out.
It's a good policy.
Yeah. And it seemed to work. I mean, because in the 80s, I think I put out an album virtually every year. And then after a while, I started to relax a bit and like, maybe I can stick around for a while. And then I would spend 2 or 3 or longer between albums. Just when I realized that, most people probably weren't going to entirely forget who I was.
Yeah, I can't.
Neither can I.
Trust me, I've tried.
The weird thing about the imposter syndrome thing is like, this is kind of a weird dark thought, but sometimes I feel like a Make-A-Wish kid. like I feel like, do you remember Bad Kid? You remember Bad Kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that sometimes, like people are just humoring me. Like when they're like super, super nice to me, I'm like, oh, let Al pretend that he's a rock star for 40 years.
Funny, dude. You know what? The Bad Kid I always see as like, that's what most celebrities are treated like every day.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we got you. Especially like I'll do commercials for, with athletes for their shoe. And at a certain point I was like, this is just like a bar mitzvah kid. We're like, and we have things about your mom. We put your granny's name on the insole, and the coach from fourth grade.
The iron sharpens iron right here. There's a biblical reference.
We tried to do like a little bit of Black History Month.
A lot of the symbols, a lot of the names on it, the connections to different cities. It just all started to make sense.
And just like, this is just like this embarrassing thing where they're trying to flatter one person.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, most people in showbiz are in some form of bat. Once you have people working for you, it's like, it's another
it's your
hit.
lucky day.
Yes, another hit. Hey, did you like that? Did you like that? Yeah, did you like it though? You want more? Don't want to work? Would rather watch videos of me grab-assing with people? First of all, go up here to subscribe, and then go up here to watch more clips. This is like when the weatherman says that there's a high pressure system coming in. I'm not really used to the green screen.